Who are you? What are you doing here? What is the purpose for your visit? What is the reason for your pilgrimage? What is the knowledge that you seek? This is the great tree of knowledge, tree of goodness and light and wealth and health. This is the Tir na Og, the learning, and the deep pool of accepting who you are and the power of who you are, and how you can live your life and let go of memories and tap into information as you need it. Not just information, but wise information. It's the wisdom that you're seeking. And it's all to do with making this a day-to-day, a moment-to-moment practice of how does a wise person make decisions? How does a wise person operate in alignment with the earth, the elementals, Father Sky, with an awareness of the water and the flow of life and the bounty of life. And this is what conquers the fear. So that the dark is just the dark and the light is just the light. And the love is the natural in between. And this is the ease that people are searching for, the calm, the serenity, the pool of wisdom. And these are the practical tools to access it, so that it is one day at a time, one moment at a time. That it's all about the experience of living, the joy of the experience, but being present to be aware of the experience and to be aware of the moment and to be in the now.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm KRYON of Magnetic Service. Some have noticed that there is a difference between the channelings given before groups of people in a conference or those who would gather in an excursion. Those who are here are literally touching the earth with their feet, and they're having a grand presentation of the idea that the planet is somehow allied with humanity differently than humans actually believe or teach. We sit in front of a tree, a grand one yet again that is very old. There are things that this tree has seen that only generations of humanity would have said they have seen. You can look at parts of it and say history was happening when this part was growing. And you'd be talking about centuries and centuries ago. And it still lives on. Humans look at the trees quite often differently than we are teaching now. Dear ones, it is a common theme of KRYON, and I will give it yet again, in great love to you, that the modern teaching that is spiritual not only has left out the planet, but has modeled God after humans. Some of you grew up in school and you learned how the trees and humans react. My partner, he learned that the trees are constantly scrubbing the atmosphere of the waste of carbon dioxide. The entire specter of this and the perception is that trees are on their hands and knees cleaning up after humans. And it goes even further. There is not an honoring of the earth or its part. It's just there doing its job. There isn't a sense, perhaps, that this tree is being fed right now as we exhale. And as the process itself that it is known for, that is living, literally gives off the life of oxygen. That's not nature on its hands and knees scrubbing anything. That is an alliance. Now that alliance creates so many things that we teach today, including that which we call entrainment, which is the field. The earth and nature is needed for physics. And that physics, since 2012, is starting to be clearer and more enhancing as it harmonizes compassion and thought. But it cannot go further without an understanding by humanity, more than just small groups who tour island, or small groups who tour anywhere that has nature. It has got to be more common that spirituality must include that which is the planet as a sentient being. Think of the planet having consciousness of one that knows who you are. Again, the common theme of KRYON, that humans have not only left Gaia behind in their spirituality, they have placed human consciousness and thought onto what you would call God, the creative source of all things, the source of love, the source of nature. This source which created the heavens and the earth, which is immense beyond immense, which is responsible for the universe as you look upon it at night, and more universes, the multiverses that you cannot even imagine. This God, according to humanity and some spiritual systems, cares what you wear, or what you eat, or your actions somehow. And if you don't please this universe, this immense creative love source, if you don't please that, this love source is going to be so dysfunctional, it's going to punish you. Like a bad father. We have said this before. It is humans who have created a dysfunctional God in their image. And in Scripture you learn that you were created in God's image. It's the reverse. The image that you were created in is the image of love and compassion. It is the Creator's image. And it cries out for you to now start to shift your thinking, that which is spiritual, to know who you are and who God is. It is a beautiful, beautiful circle of compassionate love that spirals into that which is health, understanding, wisdom. You cannot separate yourself from this. Well, you can try. The great human bias, yet again, is the one that shuts off God from who God is, who does not see the majesty of the human spirit or the human creation, who creates a human that is born dirty and has to somehow crawl and suffer in order to please this dysfunctional God who will look upon you and punish you. It could not be further from the truth. Look at nature. It is slow, it is wise, it is beautiful, it is gorgeous. It does not reach around and slap you if you don't do something correctly. This is nature, and you look upon it today in its beauty. It's spectacular. peaceful. It's part of you. That's God. And anything else that you might believe or any doctrine you have heard that is different from this is less than the truth. It is far, far larger than most of you who have ever been taught. And that is why you are here in this place, to feel this, because the ground celebrates you as you walk upon it. This is the place where those who are not sensitive can be sensitive. And so we invite you to do that, to be part of all that is, to rearrange perhaps some thinking, and know that God is far, far larger, more compassionate, more benevolent, more personal than ever before. Be still and know that you are God. And so it is.
Who is in love? It's not about other people, it's about your own life force. And filling your life force with divine presence, with love. And this is a choice, moment by moment, day by day. Choosing love, choosing to be in love, is love of life force. Being the light, being the divine presence, is your choice.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm KRYON of Magnetic Service. The group that is here stands on a windy beach. I'm going to ask all of them to look upon the surf, the beach, and reflect. This is called channeling. My partner steps away, and for a moment, as pure as it can be, the consciousness of the other side of the veil flows in to love humanity, to give you messages of love, appreciation, benevolence, instructions that will help for the future. That's the entire reason for channeling. The elements here all coordinate in that, for they are here for you. You walk upon the earth, you are part of the earth, but the earth supports a plan that is here, that is more than you think. I want you to reflect for a moment the history that is here. Ireland is not like Egypt. It does not have the kind of history that we would talk about if we stood there as we have. It has another kind of history. Some of you, perhaps on your tours here, I speak of those who are among you, me. Some of you perhaps have seen the little houses that are overgrown with the bushes and the trees and are falling apart, and it's odd to have them unkempt, standing next to perhaps mansions or factories, and you see them all over Ireland. They're called famine houses. They are the untouched honor of those who died in the famine. Entire families would perish. The children, the adults, the relatives. And in honor of that, they remain untouched. It's an honoring of what took place. It's the love from human to human. There are these kinds of things in each one of you, dear ones. There's the untouched honor of perhaps what has happened in your Akash and who you are. Or what brings you here, perhaps, to Ireland. There is that kind of history in you. As you reflect on who you are today, Do you think perhaps there are these kinds of things that you had happen in the past lives? We know what you bring here to this life. We know of the suffering that some of you have gone through, of the disappointments. But beyond that, is it possible in the history of your lives that you have indeed had the same kinds of things happen to you that has happened in the famine houses? And I'll tell you what the answer is, old soul. Yes, over and over. And so now you stand in reflection and in love, perhaps of who you are, to come to this point where you have full realization of you, your past, and perhaps even an extension of your future now that you know these things. This message is about you and the future, even though it is reflective of the past. I want to ask you, what's next? If you could project what is next for you, based upon who you are and what you've experienced, what would you project? I want to encourage you to project that which is benevolent and good, which suits your magnificence and that of the planet. So you can begin working together for the first time in ways you've never done before. The elements speak. The channeling is over. And
where is the freedom in your heart and soul? The freedom is in the alignment with the earth, with the alignment with the sun and the moon and the stars, to surrender to the universal forces and the allowing of that well-being, which creates the clarity and the vision and the harmony. It allows the innate living in alliance with nature and with the earth and with Father Sky.
greetings, dear ones. I'm KRYON of Magnetic Service. I wish to continue the last channel. We sit in an ancient hut, a place where life existed many, many years ago. In a circle, we are. And we continue the message we had before, and it is about freedom. I want you to think for a moment. Have you lived before? Is this a concept that is too strange? Or do you embrace that there is a system for souls? Do you think it really makes sense for one life, one soul, to come through this planet and then leave, and have another one come and leave, and another one come and leave? Or is it possible that there is a system of knowledge and wisdom that would allow for learning through lifetimes? And that the whole system and the reasoning for it is that souls would inhabit human bodies lifetime after lifetime and accumulate experiences and therefore wisdom. Dear ones, this is a benevolent, beautiful system. It's one that you know of when you're not here. And so I want to broach a subject, and it's about freedom of the Akash. Now, we started the last channel by asking you to recall or remember perhaps the potential or possibility that you went through suffering. that perhaps every single human in this circle, or even listening to these words, has an Akash that is peppered, filled with things in an old energy, things that don't happen anymore like that to a general population of the planet. But at one time, it was normal. That lifetimes were short and some didn't make it at all. That there was constant war and invasion and suffering and famine. And that you were part of it. What has happened in the energy of this planet, especially in these last few years, is a total and complete recalibration of the energy. It starts here. The generations that come from you will be born in a fresh land, in a fresh energy. But the old souls that I speak to right now have a chance for what I will call Akashic freedom. And that is the freedom in order to cast off anything that was filled with the old suffering or the old energy. We mentioned the famine houses so that you could see it right now with your own eyes and understand that these things are fresh, very fresh. And then in old energy, humanity did not seem to learn much. We have spoken of this time and time again. Truly, the consciousness that is beat down and never ever evolved creates the same dysfunction over and over. And it's tough to go anywhere that is evolved. Suddenly, that is changing. And that is why so many things on the planet right now look either odd, or sometimes the old energy, you see it now and you never did before. Personal habits are starting to shift and change. Many humans, especially old souls, are starting to question who they were, what they did, why they did it. You might call it an awakening. We simply say a freshness, a light that comes in. And that is what many are experiencing, perhaps even some listening to this now. It's almost like the sun comes out when it never came out before. It's an opportunity, a freshness, a freedom of the Akash. Now is the time to start understanding that your Akash actually may posture who you are. Do you stress all the time? Do you have things in the past that you know perhaps you didn't experience, but it's almost like you did? And it seems to beat you up in some way, to lay upon you. Perhaps it stifles the fun you would have, or doesn't let you have the peace that you know others around you do. And it's all in there, lifetime after lifetime, perhaps of suffering or expectations of things that are less than you have. Akashic freedom for you truly means that you're able to dismiss those things with the knowledge they are not going to happen again to you. This is a new kind of energy that will promote a more commensurate wisdom with the planet and with each other. And it really is new. It is so new, dear ones, that the gyrations of learning are still in progress. The flip-flops between that which is old and new still occurring. The fence-sitting that people are going through that we have spoken of before. It is a time of tremendous change. And you're going to see even more of it. Not just in your own lives, but in your own countries, in your politics, and what the world does with the world. This is new. You will see it everywhere. You'll see the old. Some will say, well, things never change, and that's because they only look at the old. The new sometimes is not even reported, because it's not necessarily something that is seen as anything different from that which occurred once in a while. But now it's starting to occur all the time. There is an integrity starting to come forth that never was before. People are starting to understand things they never did before. There may even be wisdom. This is the freedom of the Akash. So when you think about the things perhaps you went through, I want you to see them diminishing in that which is your Akashic record. And I want you to start to think of the things which were celebrations in the past as coming forward. And that is going to be in your dreams, and that is going to be in your life. It's the promise of wisdom. Wisdom brings a better life. You will not make the mistakes you made before. You will know better. And that also creates that which we call that countenance or personality of a master, where you stop worrying and you see the world differently. It's no longer a threat because you're in control. You're in control of that which is the compassion and the love around you and in your own life. There are those who will say, well, KRYON, that sounds great, but I can't control the ones around me. And I ask you this, why is it necessary to control the ones around you? Your peace is derived from you, not from them. And as you understand that you are worthy of this, then you start to understand that you carry your own sunlight. You carry your own light wherever you go. And eventually those around you who don't understand or perhaps are negative will see the light through you and start to change, because you show them an example of peace, of balance, of what it can be like without worry, without stress. This is the new human. It starts here. It starts now. You sit in an ancient place as a reminder and an honoring of what humans have gone through in order for you to stand here, in order for you to live this life. That is why you stop here, and that is why you honor the history that you honor. The land shakes your hand. It smiles and knows because it was waiting for this. The earth, dear ones, Gaia, is in more of a cooperative framework today than ever before for you to move ahead with a different energy than you've ever had before. This is real. It is the new truth of the earth. I ask you to feel it now. As Gaia nods and shakes your hand and pours the energy that is pure right from this place. Oh, it has seen so much. Think of what it has seen right here. For you to stand here now, in this, what you call the modern times, as the shift begins on the planet and the new human starts to be developed. And greetings, dear ones. I am KRYON of Magnetic Service. We sit in an open field representing the largest stone circle in Ireland. And before we begin, within this channel, we wish to include a meditation from an Irish woman.
Aligning with reality is a circular movement. Infinity is a circular movement. Moving with the flow of nature moves to its own beat, to its own drumming, to its own sounds. Following nature is a circular movement upon a circular movement upon a circular movement.
You notice I included the meditation within the channel. For it's a channel within the channel. And you've heard the one called Jane give the meditations before this, in the past. And the next time you hear it, in the next channel, I want you to realize that this is a form of channeling as well. One who was born here, connected with the land here, and knows things my partner does not know. I want to talk about life. I'll talk about it slightly different than I have before. This channel will hook to the next one in a way that will be self-evident when we get there. The next one is scheduled to be by the sea. So we shall see. Life, dear ones, is not necessarily recognized for what it is. In this modern day, humanity has continued to separate themselves from anything else. The earth, to them, is a resource. We say it's a parent, an actual parent. They even look upon the animals and all living things as a resource then to create a life for them. And this is a common theme of KRYON, saying that the ancients understood the affiliation, the unity, and that the modern human doesn't necessarily see it that way. And civilization, as you know it today, does not see it that way. I wish to refresh this by talking about life. Dear ones, life started on this planet, and it started here as something extremely common. Planet after planet in this galaxy has this take place. If the elements are correct, the temperatures are there, and the mixture is proper, you will have life. Period. Now this is controversial because there are those who are spiritual who say, well, the spark of life is something that was created specifically by God. Your definition of God will help you to understand what I'm telling you. That the Creator created the planet which helped then create life. Now, up to a few decades ago, this was very controversial, and now it is being seen as accurate by many scientists. There was a time, not too long ago, when the common thought on this planet was that you were alone. That somehow life occurred here and nowhere else. And then among billions and billions of stars and planets, this was the only one that had life. In the last few decades, even scientists now are expecting life everywhere. We have said to you that the galaxy is teeming with life. We even told you you were the new ones, late, and that there's a great deal of ancient life in other planets and other solar systems like yours everywhere. I'd like to tell you how this works, just so you know. And the evidence is scientific. They now understand when you get the mixture of chemistry correct and add a little electricity, you get life. You get the aminos correct and the acids correct and the electricity correct, and you get life. And it happens naturally with the elements all over the galaxy. It is common. It is expected. Those who've studied the planet and life on this planet see that it had 5 life starts and 4 life terminations of basic biology. It wasn't until life produced that thing you call photosynthesis that it could stain itself. 4 other times it appeared and died off before it could sustain itself. Would this not indicate that life is naturally occurring with the elements? Indeed it is. And so the question is, who are you? And how did you get created? Indeed, it came from God, and it came through Gaia. It came properly through the elements, the beginnings of life. And the life that you have right now, as humans that are now modern, with high consciousness, defined as a consciousness that can examine itself intellectually, you humans are sustained by the trees, by the bushes, by the grass. It's still there. You see, life was never separate from Gaia, ever. You are literally part of the dirt, part of the chemistry, part of the plants. You came from here, all of you. And what are you going to do with that knowledge? I'm going to give you a hint where we're going to go with this. Every disease known by man can be eliminated through Gaia, through consciousness. You are designed to self-balance. And humanity has lost that knowledge that in the ground you will find all of the remedies for everything. The things that are killing so many humans right now are all about unbalance. And some of it is consciousness, some of it is chemistry. And even the indigenous knew this, for they found ways of killing themselves through unbalance as well. Humans do this, but then they return to the planet, and there's some basic herbal remedies that, when mixed correctly, can create longer life and health. My partner was reminded of this in a very isolated place, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, called Rapa Nui. Some of you have called it Easter Island. And there the shamans would tell that in that isolated area that knew nothing about anything except themselves and their island, within the crater of an extinct volcano, they had a garden. And that garden sustained them, and the average life of the Rapa Nui people was 120 years. They had found the secret of health, and they were growing it right on their own soil. We encourage those to find this again, and again we'll tell you that Ireland is ripe for these discoveries, not just for botany. Medicines of all kinds can come from here, and they will be imbued with a life that no other place on the planet can grow, just like Rapa Nui. There is so much here to know about yourself, about the healing. Astronomers are expecting to find life everywhere now because they know of the chemistry of how it occurred here. They expect to find it where there is water, the temperature is correct, where there's electricity, and there is everywhere. They even expect to find it even in your own solar system. They're looking for that which is microbial, and they're correct. Natural occurring it is, came right from here, right from the dirt of the earth, dear ones. It is later that you got imbued with that which you call the soul. That was stage 2 of creating the human being as you see it now. So life came from Gaia, and the soul was put in later when you needed it. And now you have both things. You have the soul and the biology, and they work together. But don't forget where life actually came from. We will continue the channel in a moment. And so it is.